What's up, everybody? I'm Aaron,
And I'm Craig.
and today's podcast is going to be about a number of things, but our main topic today is going to be Civil War, and we're going to talk about our impressions and what you like going into the movie. What did you think?
First off, I thought going into the movie, I was thinking, I was already hyped about it. I try whenever I'm really excited about a movie, I try and avoid the trailers for it as much as possible. Really don't like spoilers over anything. But when I was going into this movie, I was thinking that it was going to be really confusing on how they're going to approach the whole Civil War fact because of how they did it in the comics and how different the movies are from the comics. But going into it, I thought it was going to be a whole kind of a mess at the beginning because there were going to be so many characters in there. But they did, in my opinion, a very good job with it.
Yeah, initially for me, because I've never been a big Marvel fan per se. Like I'm always a big DC guy. I know you're the huge Marvel fan here, but so initially I went in, I saw the first couple trailers, and I didn't really necessarily like them. I thought it just looked like the stereotypical Marvel movie that they've been releasing every year, like consistently. I mean, there's obviously been a few exclusions like that have been really, really good movies. For me personally, Guardians of the Galaxy was amazing, Ant-Man, but like I just thought it was just going to be another like Marvel formula movie going into it, and I wasn't going to pay to see it. And luckily, I didn't have to pay to see it because, as you know, Craig, I was given a free pre-screening of the movie a month beforehand in Arizona, and in doing so, got to meet some pretty awesome guys. Chris Evans, and Sebastian Stan were there, which is pretty amazing. And so it was like a really weird experience though, because like they just had like two cosplayer dudes dressed up as Iron Man and Captain America there, and they're just like, hey guys, we'll take photos. Yeah. And then out of nowhere, like the dude came in, he's like, "Yeah, we're just setting up the movie and stuff, and we can tell you guys are pretty Team Cap oriented." And like, "Oh yeah, so here's Cap." And like, you just handed the mic to Chris Evans, and Chris Evans just walked in, and the place erupted. It was pretty great and stuff, and that was pretty awesome. But yeah, initially going into the movie, I did not really want to see it because it just looked so consistently Marvel, and I'm not a big fan of Marvel. I don't like the fact that, in my own personal opinion, they've catered to kids in the past, essentially. Well, not kids, but families, and it's really like hindered the story. And with how dark Civil War was, they clearly were going to have to step away from source material because of how screwed up it gets eventually, and the fact in the comic Cap dies. So it's like that really was pretty tough for me to want to actually see the movie.
Okay, I have a quick question for you. Have you seen the movie since then?
Yeah, I've seen it one more time. I've seen it twice.
Okay, were there really any changes within that last month between the pre-release movie screening and when it was fully released?
It was
Was there
the
anything that you noticed that was
it
different?
was the exact same movie, excluding the fact that they had the end credit scene in the beginning with which I don't remember what it was, but the very first end credit scene with Black Panther, and
Black
then
Panther and Cap?
yeah, Black Panther and Cap. But then in the pre-screening, they didn't show you the Spider-Man end credit scene at the very end, so that was like the only thing that wasn't there, which was I don't know, it wasn't really that important of a scene anyways.
Okay. Um, so overall, what did you think of the movie? Like, just broadly, talk about what you thought about the movie. Um,
Well, first time seeing it, like at the pre-screening, I thought it was freaking amazing. Like, I loved it. It was amazing. The one thing that bothered me though was like obviously the crowd. That's why I don't like to see those movies opening nights because everybody around you just goes yeah, like starts screaming and clapping. And it's really annoying because it's I just want to watch the movie. But like it was a really really good movie. The action scenes were really well done, excluding the fact that Spider-Man and Ant-Man were very heavily animated like the entire time, which really really annoyed me. But it was really well done movie wise and stuff. But then the second time I saw it, it was sort of like certain things stuck out to me. Like the plot line in itself was a little really, really annoying. Like I don't know, it just bothered me a lot. Certain things about it, like the fact that Iron Man and Cap just so eagerly like hated each other towards the end of that. I mean, I understood why, obviously, but it just bothered me. Like I just don't know.
yeah, for me, being a huge Marvel fan, I mean, I don't, whenever I go to the movies, because I usually go on opening weekends,
Yeah.
um, I don't get into it as much as like the rest of the crowd does because, I'm there to watch and enjoy the movie. I'm not there to, um,
Scream and
scream
clap.
about different punches being thrown or whatever.
Oh hell
So,
yeah.
uh, for me, I thought that the movie was really good. It was really well paced. Uh, it started off with a good scene to get you hooked, and then kind of slowed down for quite a bit, and then right around the airport scene, which is everybody's favorite scene, that's when everything really started happening fast again. Because from the airport scene to the end of the movie, I felt it didn't take very long, time wise, but also there was just so much that was happening in those moments that it made it feel also like it was going on for quite some time.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah, that was a tremendously long scene. Although, personally, though, for me, that was not my favorite scene. My favorite scene was towards the end when Black Panther sat down with the Russian dude, Romanian dude, whose name I can't remember at this time. But he sat down with him, like, took his mask off and, like, stopped him from killing himself. Like, that was extremely powerful to me. That was by far
yeah.
my favorite.
So your favorite scene is when the Romanian guy sits down, or Black Panther sits down with the Romanian guy and talks to him.
Yes, I felt like that drove apart, like, the whole message of the entire movie. That, like, revenge isn't necessarily the best thing to do, and killing all these people, like, it's just the whole idea that the guy had was just stupid and misconstrued and everything. And then Black Panther came to realize that he became so consumed with vengeance and revenge, same thing, became so consumed by it that it just ate away at him, and he just lost sight of everything. And then Black Panther realized that the same thing was happening to him, and he didn't want to become him and become the thing that the Romanian dude had become. And it just, like, pushed, like, the entire message of the movie, like, just so far ahead. And then, which also bothered me too, was that they had like, it's a Captain America movie, and a side character is the one pushing in the whole, like, the whole meaning of the movie, and, like, the whole, like, emotion of it. It was just Black Panther doing it. While I love Black Panther, he's one of my favorite characters in the entire movie. It just really bothered me that Cap didn't really have anything to do with, like, the whole point of the movie being pushed forward, like, the whole meaning towards the end. Like, it really had nothing to do with Cap, except when he's like, oh, I guess if you need me, I'll join the Avengers, which, yeah, but, like, it's just, like, the whole meaning was just all put on Black Panther, which was really rather odd for a Captain America movie.
And what was your the scene that you felt was the worst scene?
Honestly, I thought it was when Iron Man found out that Bucky had killed his parents, because that was just so, like, lacking in emotion for me. Like, watching it, I was just like, they started showing, I'm like, oh, there, he killed his parents. Like, it was just, like, the easiest thing, and, like, there was no emotion into it, while Robert Downey Jr. is an amazing actor, so Sebastian Stan, he's just, like, watching the scene, it just didn't do anything for me. And then he's like, hey, did you know Cap? It just seemed like just, I don't know, there just didn't seem as much emotion as there could have been, especially with the preceding scene with Black Panther. There was, like, a lot of emotion, and it was, like, great dialogue, just, like, the back and forth between him and the Romanian dude was just amazing. But, like, just that one, the moment that should have really, really mattered, the moment you find out Bucky killed his parents, just, like, had no effect on me, especially since they've been building up to it the entire movie, showing, like, Bucky taking out the car in the beginning of the movie, and then showing him saying goodbye to his Iron Man saying goodbye to his parents, in the beginning of the movie too. Like, it just all led up to that one moment, and it just didn't do it for me. I was just like, this is cool, he killed his parents, and, like, I just didn't feel the emotion that I should have felt, and that really quite annoyed me. What of you, my friend?
My favorite scene, besides my biases to Spider-Man, my favorite scene was that very first chase scene, right after Cap meets Bucky, and, like, the whole military is chasing those two, and Black Panther joins in. I think that was probably the most well filmed scene throughout the movie. Um, Especially the moment whenever you see Bucky just rip that dude off the motorcycle,
Oh, and he
twirl
flips
it
it around.
Yeah, like
That
that
was
moment
legit.
right there. If you weren't sold on the movie up until that point, I think that moment really just drove it home for
And
a lot of people.
And that
Um,
whole introduction to Black Panther too, like, just, like, the moment he gets shot at from the helicopter, just turns around. Oh, it was like, it made me so happy just seeing Black Panther there when he leaps and like, grabs Bucky from the motorcycle. Oh God.
like that scene really drove how much Cap cares about Bucky, even though he knows that Bucky has been wrong. It's just, this is my best friend from when I was really little, so I need to,
And he
help
believed in
him.
him too. Yeah, and he believed in him. He knew that this isn't Bucky. The person you
Exactly.
think you're seeing, the Bucky you think you know, isn't the actual. Like, that's not him. He's being controlled. This is not who he really is. And Cap knows who he really is, and he doesn't
Exactly.
lose faith in that, which is pretty freaking amazing. Because circumstances would make most people lose faith.
And I'd have to agree with you, even though I don't want to say the same thing again on the worst scene being that one scene of when Iron Man or Tony Stark finds out that
Hmm.
Bucky ended up killing his parents. I mean, yeah, it was foreshadowed really early on, and I like with the fact that they showed that scene of Bucky slamming that car, and then all of a sudden you see Tony, like the next scene, you see Tony Stark saying goodbye to his parents.
Yeah.
Like right, two and two together. It's literally right there.
Well, they did have some spacing out because immediately after Bucky crashed the car was when they had the fight with Crossbones and then the huge death scene. But like I was almost like probably like 20 minutes after the attack with like the Bucky crashing the car is when they showed Iron Man doing the whole presentation at the college and then crying because there's no Pepper.
I mean, it just like the two scenes that weren't already essentially of getting ready for the Civil War that was taking place. Those two scenes were pretty close together for that fact. So just being able to guess that early on and then seeing whenever it happens, I just didn't either the Russo brothers couldn't get the emotion across while they were directing that or someone didn't feel as though that this scene was supposed to be the most impactful scene as it should have been. Um,
It should have been so much more impactful because like that is one of the biggest reveals like of the movie. It is the biggest reveal in the movie is that hey, Bucky killed your parents, but it had no effect on me, it had no effect on you. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there where they're just sitting there like I should probably feel something right now, but I don't really care. And then like it was just it was as the rest of the movie was so well done with emotion, like with Scarlet Witch, like every scene she was in, I felt emotion like with her, like I could tell like she was feeling things, and Elizabeth Olsen was really really good at acting that, and but just that the scene with the three of them, I just didn't feel anything. I was like, this isn't well done. It's nothing compared to the rest of the movie because the rest of the movie had extremely well done actions. Not just this wasn't even an action scene. It had extremely well done action scenes and just overall emotional scenes that like immediately after the building explodes when they're signing the peace treaty. Well, not the peace treaty, but they're signing the accords. And the whole emotion in T'Challa and the conversation back and forth with him and Black Widow him and Natasha was just like you could feel it. And then you go from all of that like emotion that you can feel throughout the entire movie to the one scene that's supposed to be the most impactful and just blowing it right there. Just really left a sore taste in my mouth after watching that. But obviously, it was saved immediately after Black Panther did the whole thing with the stopping the dude from killing himself. But still.
all right, so now let's talk about certain characters, obviously like the main superheroes and the couple of villains that were in this movie. Let's talk about them, their development, and like what kind of flaws that they had throughout the movie. Let's start off with Captain America.
Well, for Cap, I feel like throughout this entire like just series of movies in general, he has had like little to no development in my own opinion because he's just been the same character every single movie. I mean, he fights for different things throughout the movie, except Winter Soldier and Civil War. He was kind of fighting for the same thing to like clear Bucky's name to save Bucky. But like he hasn't really ever had any change in his character as a whole. He sort of stayed the same. He's sort of like the Superman of Marvel now that I think about it. He hasn't really had any development, but I mean he has more development than Superman, but because Superman has like no development. Let's just ignore that. But in this movie, like this whole series, I've never really noticed true development in Cap. He sort of stayed the same thing throughout all of the movies he's been in, which isn't really a good thing for a
Yeah,
character.
I agree with that. I mean, during the comics, he's not one of the most always progressive and changing characters. He always has the same morals that he had back in the 1940s during World War II, and that's what Captain America has always been about, standing up for what he believes in, and he doesn't budge either way. And I mean, that's one of his downfalls, but also that's one of his main points, and kind of the same reason for Superman being the same way. He has his morals. He does what he thinks is right, and he's somewhat just too boneheaded to realize what it is that he's doing wrong. Um, Bucky, on the other hand, I think this movie really brought him up. I think
I agree.
I don't think that this movie, obviously, this movie wouldn't have been able to be made without Bucky. Um, but like he went from getting out of Hydra's control, going into hiding, and being accused of this. You know, he didn't want to, start talking to Cap and figure out what to do next. But throughout the end of the movie, he realized, hey, I need somebody's help. I can't do this by myself anymore. I need other people to help me. So he started looking to Cap, to Falcon, and all these other people, and be like, hey, let's get this done, and then I'll do whatever I need to later.
And one of the things I love was the raw emotion that Sebastian Stan was able to show out.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's just like the fact that he went from hiding and all that stuff just to being taken right back into like being taken right back to captive, and then having the dude say the words to him. You could just see like the whole like don't do it, don't put me back there. Like when he starts beating the glass to try to get out of the cage, just freaking out. You could see it, and it's just like he had such development compared to Cap, which really annoyed me. But he had such development. It was just like you could actually see him growing throughout the movie and changing as time went by, which he went from being like the whole like, yeah, I can't trust anybody, I need to be alone, to being like, dude, if I'm alone, I'm gonna die. They're gonna get me. I can't be alone. And then to the very end, you see in the end credit scene where he's like, and now I can't even trust myself. I know, like I'm a weakness to you guys. I'm a weakness to basically the world, because if somebody gets a hold of me, then they can just ruin me. And he's like, I need to get this. I need to focus on getting rid of the whole like brain control crap, and like he just knows, like he's able to realize what he finally has to do, and like that's just a great thing to finally have a character notice, is like the end result. He knows what he has to do, and he knows how he has to react, and it's just overall well done character.
Yeah, the end credit scene with him and Black Panther just saying, "Hey, this is what I need to do. Put me back under. I can't control it anymore." That really showed how much he cares about other people and how much he realizes about himself and stuff. Um, let's talk about Tony Stark and Black Widow next.
Oh, for Tony Stark, I mean, he had quite a bit of character progression, because like throughout the previous movies, he's never really like been aware of what his actions do to other people. He sort of just does things and just doesn't really ever like acknowledge like, hey, this might hurt somebody or whatever. I mean, he does occasionally, but overall, he's sort of just been like, I need to do what needs to be done, and not worry about what happens afterwards. But you see throughout the movie, especially when the one lady comes up to him in front of the elevator and tells him like, you killed my son, like I blame you, this is all your fault, look what you've done, you killed my son, he was so amazing. And it just truly hits him, and you see the progression of the fact that he realizes that his actions now have consequences, and that he can't just sit here and do whatever he wants. He needs to realize that if I do something, somebody could very well die, somebody could be hurt, I can ruin people's lives just by doing this one thing. And he fully realizes now that he needs to take responsibility for his actions, which in my opinion was a freaking great like development in his case, because over the past movies he's never really like fully been like, yeah, this is my fault, yeah, I need to stop doing this. He just kept doing things.
Yeah,
But now
I
that
I
yeah,
agree with most of that, except for the scene when he finds out that Bucky killed his parents. Like he had so much progression throughout the movie. He realized he was wrong, and then he went to go help Cap and Bucky. And then
and he just loses
as
it
soon
all.
as that happens, it lost me there. I'm just like, you started to really progress. You started to change. It was kind of like Iron Man 3 near the ending, where he destroys all the suits, but then he goes back to pretty much the same way that he was before. Like, he didn't change after that.
Yeah.
So,
But you can clearly see though that that whole experience, like in the end of the movie when he's reading the letter from Cap, like you can clearly see that that whole experience clearly had an effect on him. Like even though he lost it in that moment, which is understandable, you just found the person who killed your parents, but he lost it and it's just like he snapped. But then as he left, he sort of like got his calm back, and you could see him just like thinking everything over and realizing that like I still gotta like watch what I do. Like you just see it in his face, which was a lot better acting than that scene.
alright. And then Black Widow, I feel like she had some character development, but it was more or less a mid ground, kind of like how Spider Man's supposed to be in Civil War in the comics. He's the one that kind of connects the two and realizes, hey, this side has very good points. This side also has very good points. Why don't we compromise? Why don't we talk about it? And like coming from Black Widow, I did not expect that. I expected, a character that was. I mean, she does care about Tony Stark and she does care about Steve Rogers. Like there's no
Clearly.
doubt that she's probably in the MCU the most middle ground in between those two, besides Bruce Banner or Thor.
Who were not present at
Exactly.
all, just so everybody
And
realizes.
and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Um,
Yeah, which is actually one of the main reasons. But
but I feel as though like without her, the Civil War would like without her playing in what comics was Spider-Man's role. I don't feel as though the movie would have been able to be as well done as it has. Like a lot of people kind of skim over her quite a bit throughout all the other movies. This one, I feel as though people cannot just keep ignoring her whatsoever. Like they need to talk about what it is that she just did, and when she was on Iron Man's side, and then as Steve and Bucky were running to the Quinjet, she stopped um, Black Panther from getting them, and she's like, "I told you I would help you find them, not stop them." Like
she's doing what she knows is right. So
exactly.
yeah, she has like pretty decent development. Although like the majority, excluding like those two scenes where she's talking to Cap and then she's talking to Iron Man, the majority of her dialogue is just like witty banter back and forth between characters. Which I mean, that's how it's like always been with Marvel. It's just like her and Hawkeye will just go back and forth, which is exactly what happened in the movie. It's like, I hope we're still friends after this. Depends on how hard you hit me. They just go back and forth, but like I think the mere fact, because they never had any of those like emotional scenes with her generally in the past movies, and I think the fact that they finally put those in really drives her character forward and shows that no matter who she like she always puts the right thing forward first. Like she initially was like, yeah, this is the right thing to do, like with Iron Man and the Accords, and then after seeing the effect it had on everything that's going on, she realized she's like, I need to help Bucky and Cap. Like they're on the right here now, and like they're doing what's right, and then I need to make sure they're good, which is
All right, and briefly we'll talk about the two characters that made their MCU appearance, Spider-Man and Black Panther. Personally, as you know, I am probably one of the biggest Spider-Man people in the world. Um, After hearing whenever Tony Stark say where his secret weapon was, and he said Queens, I'm just like, that was probably the most hyped I had been in that movie, only because of that. And the dialogue and the actor, Tom Holland, that played Spider Man and Peter Parker, it was perfect. They went with poor Peter Parker, not rich boy that had a pea coat and was walking around New York well dressed and stuff. His computer was obviously picked up from a garbage or thrift shop. Um, and like all the little things that they did in his and Aunt May's apartment with the mismatching Tupperware and silverware and dishes, everything was just like, hey, we don't have enough money. We are not really we're not able to afford a lot. And I feel as though going forward with this character, they're going to be able to put a lot more into his development. Um, Now going back to like the airport scene, his only main real fighting scene. Uh, Besides the suit, I didn't mind the suit. I know you don't really like it at all because it seemed a
yeah.
lot of CGI, but I didn't mind it because they really went back to the comics with it. I mean, yes, they added black and added a different, more futuristic Tony Stark, very heavily influenced suit. But for me, I've always been a fan of the bigger spider on the back of the suit. And when I saw that for the first time, I was like, they finally nailed a Spider-Man suit with that spider. Um,
Well, like I understand why he was so heavily animated though, was because initially him and Ant-Man weren't really even in the script, and then they were sort of like pushed in there, like, "Hey, let's do this, yeah," and they're like kind of just like shoved in there. So they didn't really have like the time or money to go and just get both the guys on set, film every single scene that they're supposed to be in, and all that stuff. So it saved money and time animating them, which really kind of makes sense. But at the same time, just like how poor the animation was compared to other characters, or the CGI was compared to other characters, was a little like bothering to me.
I feel as though if Marvel made the deal with Sony sooner, they would have been able to put him in there and get that scene, those scenes done a little bit better, and get a suit done a little bit more nicely. One thing about the suit though that I do like is that the eyes did move, because obviously in the comics they move all over the place. When he's pissed, they're squinty. When he's laughing and having a great time, they're wide as crap. Um, and his
And they move logically in the movie too,
exactly
which
it
is great. Like they actually put logic
yeah,
behind it.
it looked like his eyebrows and his whole facial structure was moving those eyes very well. Um, his banter while he was fighting, probably one of the funniest things throughout the movie.
You have a metal arm, dude. That's awesome.
Exactly, and like the way that I mean, even though it did look somewhat animated, just the movements that he was doing for every scene while he was crawling on the walls, while he was swinging, they're exactly how I picture them as he's moving in these comics that I read all the
Mhm.
time. What are your thoughts on Black Panther?
Black Panther. I freaking loved Black Panther. He's probably, excluding Scarlet Witch, my favorite part of the entire movie, because just overall, like I've always wanted to see him in there, and then the suit was just so beautifully well done. It looked so amazing. And then let's be honest here, I was gonna like the actor who played him. He's a he's quite a above par dude. Like that man, great man. But his acting in general too. But just the whole character was just so well done and was amazing. And like I honestly just loved him the entire time. There wasn't a scene without him that I didn't like. And of course, he was in my favorite scene in the entire movie when he went up to the top of the mountain to stop the dude. And that was just like just such a well done character, and the emotion behind him and everything was just so perfect and ugh, beautiful. What about you?
Um, I thought he had a really big presence, as he should have. I mean, making his MCU debut, and I like that with both Spider-Man and Black Panther, they're not going into the origin stories. They're saying, "Hey, these are people that are already there. Let's use them. Let's." Everybody knows the backstory for Spider-Man. Not many people know it for Black Panther, so I'm assuming probably in his own movie that they're going to go back to that a little bit and address it a little bit, even though they did also here saying that the mantle is passed down from Black Panther to Black Panther.
Mhm. And we already have his motives for being like who he is now too, because his dad's dead. So
Exactly.
that was a huge motive for what he was doing in the first place.
And the end credits scene when they're saying if they find him here, good luck. Paraphrasing that because I can't remember the exact wording. But and then they pan out and show the Wakanda jungle. I was so hyped about that because he's got this very secretive base like he's supposed to. It's essentially the Batcave, but Black Panther.
Black Panther. It's the Panther Cave. Panther Den. Ooh.
Ooh.
What'd you think of Scarlet Witch?
Scarlet Witch, I feel as though she was very emotionally charged throughout the movie, having accidentally killed all those people in Wakanda. And just without her, the movie wouldn't have progressed as well as it should have. Um, but I feel as though there was times where she realized the depth of what she had done and what she should be doing and how she should be handling herself. And I feel as though uh, being emotionally charged after being held captive essentially by Iron Man, um, having her help Captain America, and the fact that he's been letting her try and do stuff on her own, figure stuff out, has been great. I feel as though she needed to have this, butt heads with somebody that's trying to take care of her, but doesn't really know the best way because they didn't raise her. Um, I feel as though there could have been a couple of things that she could have done differently instead of, you know, just kind of going along with the flow until Hawkeye shows up. I feel as though she could have been a little bit more, assertive in that. But other than that, I feel as though she played Emily
Elizabeth
Elizabeth
Olsen.
Olsen um, played a really good Scarlet Witch.
I think one of the reasons though why she was so like subdued was because of the person who was holding her there, Vision, because she's always been so close to Vision, and been like, this is like, and obviously you can tell throughout the movie that she and him have something going on, and in the comics they get married and all that jazz, and they're together. But you can clearly see the emotion, like you can see it leading up to that, and I think the fact that he was the one keeping her there, not letting her leave, sort of like boggled her a little bit and like stunned her, and she's like, oh, what the heck, and didn't really know what to do, and then didn't fully realize what she should be doing until Hawkeye showed up, because she's been so close with Vision this whole time that she just sort of like trusts him more than anybody, and she already doesn't trust herself based on what happened in the beginning of the movie when with Crossbones and all that jazz and stuff, and she doesn't trust herself. She trusts Vision, so she doesn't really believe she can do what she needs to do and doesn't know what she should do until Hawkeye comes in, and that's just a real progression there. But overall, like she had some of the most emotional scenes in the entire movie, especially when they're sitting in the courtroom showing all the deaths of the various like cities where everybody's died and all that stuff, and then they show where Crossbones was at, and you just see it in her face like this is my fault. I did this, even though not all of it's her fault. But you can just see it, like she struggles throughout the entire movie, and it just shows, especially with Elizabeth Olsen's acting, because she's so tremendous at playing that character, and just overall, but this my favorite character in the entire movie, honestly.
All right, and then I'm gonna kind of gloss over the remaining characters that were in the movie with Vision, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, War Machine, Falcon, Crossbones, and the Romanian dude that nobody knows his name.
I don't remember his name,
Uh,
but like of those you named, Vision probably like of the remaining ones, Vision definitely had probably the most progression between him, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, War Machine, Falcon, because
Ant-Man.
like you could see him slowly changing throughout the entire movie. Like he's not a machine. He may be humanoid, but he's starting to get the human like tendencies. Like he's clearly in love with Scarlet Witch, especially when he fires the Infinity Pulse, whatever that was, and ends up hitting War Machine instead of the back of Falcon's suit, and War Machine falls down and is now paralyzed. But you can clearly see he got distracted, which isn't supposed to happen for computers. Computers can't get distracted, and he's changing, and he's getting progression, and you're seeing just like the whole back and forth between him and Scarlet Witch too. You just see the progression, just like it's just right in front of
I
your
feel
face.
as though we should have gotten a little bit more. I mean, I understand MCU really continues with the timeline. Like, hey, after Avengers 2, with however much time was in between Avengers 2 and Civil War, what was that, a year? That a whole
Around
year
that,
had passed, a real year in, MCU universe and our daily universe or daily life. Like, all
hmm
that stuff had passed. So I feel as though dealing with that, I feel as though I wanted to see a little bit more of the change prior to that instead of going from straight almost computer robotic vision to very humanistic. I don't think that they gave him enough time to progress uh, for me.
I kind of disagree there though, because like he didn't. It wasn't like just an all of a sudden progression, because you see in the beginning of the movie when like he walks through the wall and then he comes in between Cap when he's talking to Wanda, and he goes in there and like she's just like, whoa, what are you doing? He's like, oh, sorry, I thought it was okay, and like you just see he still got the whole like robotic, like, yeah, I don't know the difference, like, you have emotions, you feel awkward, I didn't know that, like you still got that going on, and then you see it up until like the part where it really expresses itself is when Hawkeye comes in to get Wanda, and she has to put Vision down and like actually like shove him into the ground. That's when you slowly start to see him being like, I'm realizing everything now. I'm realizing that I love this chick. Like I have feelings for her. Like she's distracting me. She's becoming part of me. So it didn't really. I don't think it came all at once. I thought it like slowly like built up, and then it like just went like, hey, here you go, guys. He's in love with her. She's clearly in love with him.
Hawkeye, I felt as though, I mean, obviously he was playing in there, and then the whole scene with Ant-Man on the arrow of Hawkeye so iconic through I can't remember the issue that it was, but just that cover of Ant-Man on the arrow of Hawkeye,
Hmm.
like they did that scene exactly. Um, I just feel as though he was more of a calming force for Captain America's side, whereas Black Widow was the calming force on Iron Man's side. They were very much in the middle, but they both said, "I disagree with you. I'm gonna, fight for what I believe." Um, Other than that, I don't know what else to really say about Hawkeye. He wasn't in the movie enough to really warrant a whole lot of.
Yeah, he didn't really. I mean, he did stuff obviously, but
He didn't
like
make a
he
huge
didn't. He didn't.
impact.
Yeah, he didn't really progress or anything. He just sort of stayed the same. But then again, that's how they've always done Hawkeye. He's never really been a big part of the movies. He's sort of just been like there, and like obviously he has importance to the movie because like without him, Scarlet Witch would have never left and all that stuff. But like he's still just like sort of just gets put in a little bit. And I mean, there's not really much like with the top tier characters you already have in the movie. Hawkeye's definitely not one of the top tier characters, and there's not really much you can shove forward unless they find some big story arc to do with him. But as of now, they've just sort of like kept him down and just made him like a calming force, as you said.
Ant-Man, I think, also was a kind of one of those characters that didn't really progress. He was in there to kind of get his face known, saying, "Hey, I'm still alive. I'm a part of the MCU. I'm gonna get involved. I'm getting ready to help out with Infinity Wars
And provide some comic relief.
and provide some comic relief." Although,
Oh, which
okay, I have a second favorite scene of the movie, and that is when Spider-Man does the whole A New Hope reference.
you guys ever seen that movie, A New Hope?
Like that right there just made I busted out laughing, and I really don't do that a whole lot at movie theaters. Um, Other than like that whole scene, Ant-Man, he was there, he was excited. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a part of this," and he did a really good job with that. And I mean, yeah, obviously when he was giant, it looked animated. When he was small, it looked
It looked
animated.
animated.
But other than that, being thrown in at the last minute, he did make. I think he made more of an impact than Hawkeye did, a little bit. But also he didn't change the movie. Like
Yeah,
there
no,
wasn't
he didn't really
anything
matter that much.
that he could have done to make the movie worse or better. So
Yeah, but like, see, personally, I did not even remotely like his new suit. I thought it was like a huge down. Like, obviously, it looks more high tech and stuff, but I thought it was a tremendous downgrade from the original suit. Like, it just looked worse. Like, I don't like the pointy edges and all that stuff. I don't know why. It just didn't sit well with me. Like, from watching Ant-Man and just like loving the suit to go into that, I'm just like, ugh, I hate the helmet. Like, I can't stand the helmet. And then I just really want to know if he got his orange slices, man. That's like all I really care about now. Did he get his orange slices?
then War Machine and Falcon, I believe that of the side characters, those two played probably the biggest roles in that. War Machine getting struck down by Vision after Falcon dodged it. Uh, with him having to go to the hospital, barely making it, now going through uh, physical therapy and stuff, meeting Stan Lee, and all those funny little moments that he did throughout the movie. But he was so serious and so on Iron Man's side, as was Falcon so on Captain America's side, that you could tell that if if Iron Man died or if Captain America died, those two would be the ones that would, not necessarily take up the mantle, but take up their beliefs, their values, and stand up for what they believed in.
Yeah, and then with War Machine and Falcon, I feel like honestly the exact same way. Like I don't really have anything like special affinities towards them, so I can't really say a bunch of stuff like, oh yeah, I love them, but like they were the, as you said, they'd be the ones to take it all up. Like obviously they're the next in line if anything were to happen to the main guys, and like they just really put that across with the emotional connections between each of the characters. They showed how close Falcon and Cap are. They showed how close War Machine and Iron Man are, especially when War Machine plummeted and got paralyzed. They just showed the whole connection between the characters, and that was just extremely well done in that place. So like Hey guys, they're not the only ones here
Mm-hmm.
for Cap and Iron Man.
And then now let's talk about Crossbones real quick. I mean, obviously without Crossbones, the whole, Accords wouldn't have had to come about with Scarlet Witch accidentally killing those people up in that building.
Although I feel eventually it would have because they can't be perfect. So
True, but like it wouldn't like I feel as though he was there at the beginning to, give them something to start fighting about, and then obviously he, killed himself.
it also showed the fact that how connected Cap is to Bucky too, because Cap probably would never would have happened if he didn't say started talking about Bucky, because that clearly like stunned Cap and like made him just sit there and just like stop everything he was doing, which really screwed up a lot of the stuff that was going on there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then it showed Scarlet Witch how she clearly blamed herself because she's like, I wasn't able to control it. I wasn't able, like, I'm not strong enough. Like, and then she like, I don't have enough control over myself. It's like she felt obviously that she didn't have enough control to stop it or to move it away to where nobody would get hurt. And then when all those people do die, she clearly just takes it all. So Crossbones did clearly have an effect on the characters in the movie.
And then also, I feel as though the Romanian dude that we both can't remember his name right now, and like, I
Not
don't
even
care if
close.
you guys chew us out in the comments about this, but I don't think he had enough of an impact that anybody. I mean, yeah, we'll remember that there was this Romanian dude that had this whole master scheme to
hmm
get Iron Man and Captain America to fight each other. But other than that,
Extremely smart Romanian dude, I might add, because of everything that he did.
I mean, yeah, he was extremely smart and like everything was planned out, and somehow everything came to fruition as well as he wanted to, and destroying the quote unquote destroying the Avengers from the inside. But being, you know, that roundabout of a way to doing that, it didn't. He wasn't involved enough into the movie to really get me into anything that he was, standing for. He didn't make me sympathize with him really. I mean, yeah, he lost his family in Romania during Age of Ultron.
hmm
Okay, a lot of people did. We already addressed that whole situation before.
But not everybody's as insane as this guy is, sadly. But like, I don't know, his motives just seem so like exactly the same as everybody else's. Like, I've lost people and now I'm angry, so I'm gonna kill you. Or no, he wasn't trying to kill him, he was trying to make them fall and collapse. He was trying to destroy the Avengers, but like, it was just the whole motives behind it all. I mean, wow, the things he did were really cool, like blowing out all the electricity, like the servers, so that they can't see what he's doing and all that stuff. And then just setting up the whole video to show Iron Man and just watching it all collapse. While the planet itself was cool, his motives behind it were just like so familiar. Like, it didn't seem like anything new.
Exactly. That's why I don't think that he had enough of an impact to be the main villain of this movie.
I don't know who else it would have been though. I mean, just each other. I mean, it was Civil War, so but it just the dividing line between them didn't really like. It's just this like it was just a like blah dividing line. Like the reason they stop fighting and then the reason they start fighting is the same exact thing, and it's just really just not doesn't come across well at all. I don't know why. He just wasn't well. While the actor played the character great, the writing behind him, the writing behind the character himself, I didn't think it was well done. Like I just thought he just wasn't well created
Also,
for the
I
movie.
feel as though that even without him, the arguments and the fighting between Captain America and Iron Man still would have occurred, because the Accord still would have happened, and in the
Eventually.
comics, if they would have gone more with source material, the uh, Accord slash Registration Act in the comics would have
hmm
been passed, and Captain America still would strongly say, I do not support this, I do not believe in this. And he would still go about helping people even though he's not a part of the Accords. So Iron Man would still have to go out and fight him. Kind of like in the Registration Act, instead of, submitting their identity to the government, Cap says, I don't believe that people should be doing that. So they would be arrested if they haven't put their identity out in public. So
hmm
the fighting still happened the same way, and it still got the same result of that. very fantastic scene of when Iron Man is blasting into Cap's shield and the rays are just going everywhere.
Ooh, straight from the panel. Oh, it was so beautiful.
Yep. So without that, I really don't believe. I mean, even without the Romanian dude, we still would have had a very much closer to source material Civil War movie.
Especially if Cap died. I want to put that out there.
Very true.
I really wish that happened.
But, I feel as though even though with him in there, the movie was still great. And it still set up so many different things that are going to be coming out. And it's going to be affecting movies like Spider-Man that's going to be coming out next year. And then the one movie that I really want to talk about right now will be Thor, or the couple movies that I want to talk about right now are going to be Thor, Black Panther's movie, and Infinity Wars Part 1, and how that this movie is going to affect them.
How Civil War is going to affect them?
Yeah. So I think with, Thor and Hulk not being involved in Civil War, I think the waves of it are going to reach them wherever they are, because I don't know anything about what's going to be happening in that movie right now, because I try and avoid that. But I have a feeling that Thor and Bruce Banner are going to be together and working on something, and without either of them at Civil War, they've obviously haven't signed the Accords.
Yes,
So,
and they're also not on Earth, so there's another thing.
so
They don't even know what's going on at all, for starters.
So, whenever they come back, when there is a threat on Earth, let's say whenever Thanos shows up for Infinity War, like, they're going to go in and just do it anyway. And it's going to be kind of questioning how are they going to have to fit into the Accords? Are they going to sign them, or are they going to be, hey, no, we're here to do this, so kindly screw off.
I don't know. No one's going to control Thor or Banner. Let's just be honest there, because above all else, they're just going to do what they want to do. Like, while you may be able to control Iron Man because he's obviously subdued to the friggin' rules, but no one's going to be able to deal with them. And the fact that they don't even know what's going on, coming in and just being told, hey, you can't do that, they're going to be like, screw you, and just continue to do what they're doing. They're not going to care. And it's the biggest Thor movie they've been made so far, considering the fact I hate the other two, or whatever. And obviously this is going to be good. I mean, it's got Banner, and then it's got everybody in the fact. It's just going to be odd seeing how they react coming back into Infinity War, realizing like, hey guys, yeah, we kind of screwed up a little bit, and then all this crap going on. It's just going to be interesting to see the dynamic that plays out from there after Thor.
I feel as though like a character progression with Thor would be coming back and being able to be a leader and saying, hey, you're right. Right now we need to work together no matter who is right on the Accords part. We need to defeat Thanos. And then obviously with the Guardians of the Galaxy coming into Infinity War, it's just there's going to be all these people in there that haven't been there, that necessarily weren't there for the Civil War, and that are going to come in and say, hey, we don't care what you just did. We need this to happen. So kindly, get over your differences right now.
Because believe it or not, for those of you who don't read the comics, even though we haven't really ever seen anything of Thanos, and he's one of the most annoying characters of this entire thing to me because he doesn't do shit. Believe it or not, he's ridiculously powerful. He can just destroy almost anything. And that Infinity Gauntlet you saw in one of the past movies,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
that thing can destroy quite a bit of things. So believe it or not, they're gonna need to unite. And if they don't, obviously they will. But if they don't, they're definitely going to be screwed over, and they're going to have to get everybody, including the people they don't even know about, Guardians and all that stuff, to work together to actually stop this, because he can destroy Earth easily.
Alright, and then Black Panther, obviously that one, he's going to have quite a bit of, self-reflection and development from Civil War, saying, hey, these were the Avengers, this is kind of what my role was in it. Now, how am I going to do going back to Wakanda and dealing with the crime and everything that happens there with that Black Panther needs to deal with?
Here's a quote from uh, the director, who has said, sorry, not the director, Kevin Feige, said it's a big geopolitical action adventure that focuses on the family and royal struggle of T'Challa and Wakanda and what it means to be a king. T'Challa's story is very important to us as it links to the next Avengers film, which is why we brought it forward. So clearly they were going to be making this after Infinity Wars, which after making the script and everything, they realized how bad of an idea that was. So this is obviously, just from that quote alone, is going to have a tremendous impact on the movie as it goes, because I mean he's got Bucky obviously, and then people are going to be trying to get Bucky, which I don't know if that's what's going to be going on in the movie, but I don't know what it is, but it's going to have a huge impact, and I can't wait to see how that plays out.
All right. Final thoughts on Civil War. After your any final critiques or praise, give it a score. Best would be 10 out of 10, and worst would be 1 out of 10.
Well, personally, I'd give it like at the most a 9, because there's the emotional scenes I said that didn't drive across, like Iron Man finding out about that, and then the biggest thing that annoyed me throughout the entire movie, that truly, truly annoyed me, is they would try to get serious scenes in there, and then someone would make a joke and just completely ruin it, and it would not, like, you wouldn't get the full, like, raw emotion that you thought you would be getting for a serious, like, Captain America Civil War. This is a dark movie. It should be a dark movie, darker than they normally have, and then they'd get to the scenes that were supposed to be, like, emotional and serious, and then somebody makes a joke, and it's just, you lose the entire effect, and that really, really took away from the movie and drops it down a whole point for me, honestly. So at the most, I'd generously give it a 9 out of 10.
Uh,
Action scenes are really well done, though. I have to say that.
for me, the action scenes. I don't go to a Marvel movie to see the action scenes anymore. I go to the Marvel movie to get the stories, read or watch the stories that I've read before, and see different interpretations on them. I feel as though the action scenes in this really caught my attention compared to the other Marvel movies that I've watched, and even though that there were a few scenes that I felt could have been better, especially that Tony Stark and Bucky scene with Cap finding out that Bucky killed his parents. I feel as though with those scenes not quite living up to what they really needed to drive a huge point across, it's gonna knock it down to like a 9.5 for me out of 10. So overall, one of the best Marvel movies in my personal opinion. Um, and I cannot wait to see how they go forward, especially with Doctor Strange coming out later this year.
Yes. All right. What were your so now moving on to the next topic, which of course would be Arrow, and I don't know if you want to do spoilers for this at all, but I know next week we're going to be doing a Flash entire Flash episode just to talk about the whole thing, and tons of spoilers, so we're not going to talk about that now. But just overall as a season, I thought Arrow was the worst season they've had, in my personal opinion. Like, just the entire just dragging up to the point we've gotten up to now. Like, I just despised a lot. I didn't really despise. Yeah, I despise it. I despise a lot of what was going on, and the fact that there wasn't a single stable relationship until about episode 18 out of 23, or however many there was, and everybody was just fighting with each other, and nobody was like. It was just internal conflict, which, while would be good in most cases, this wasn't working out well at all for Arrow, especially because the major parts was like Oliver and Felicity, which truly annoyed the living hell out of me, is that they just constantly fought, and then especially when she's paralyzed and finally gets to walk again, and they're having the whole argument, she just gets up and leaves, and that just feels like that's a really bitchy move to do there. And it just overall, just the fact that there was no stable relationship annoyed the living hell out of me the entire time. And although I have to say Damien Dark was flipping amazing, like, that actor played the character great. He made me laugh a lot, and I thought he was a really well done villain for that season.
I agree with you in that it wasn't their best season. I don't know if it was their worst season. It was pretty close with season 3 with me. Um, I mean, I binge watched Arrow as of recently in the past couple of months. Finally caught up, and then watched the last few episodes week by week. Um, I feel as though just talking about this season, the season finale, if you haven't watched it yet, was the best episode of this season. It gave a lot of character development to everybody. It really hit home in the fact that things are different. that's not going to be the same Arrow as it used to be, and this is a character uh, coming from a non DC reading and just watching the show. It feels like this is a character that does have to go through so much changing and doesn't keep the same moral compass necessarily the whole time. He has to, experience these different things, and he has to figure out what it is that he believes in most of all. But watching season 4 of Arrow, I feel as though there could have been a lot of things that they could have done better, but also a couple of things that they maybe have set up that might progress into season 5, even though I have a theory that this whole show is a 5 season series and that's it.
Especially because that season 4 finale, honestly, to me, seemed like a series finale. The entire way it went down and ended, just the whole events of it all, just it seemed like they were just saying like, yeah, we're done. Is sort of what I was saying. It just seemed like a series finale. It was just everything that went down, and the fact like I don't know what else they could do from that, like what villains they could spawn up or what they're gonna do, like because obviously things happen in there that are gonna be hard to bring back into the next season with like a whole explanation and just overall the whole montage type thing they did at the end. It just seemed like, dude, we're done. Like, here's your ending. Like, it was a really good episode. I have to say, it was the best episode of the season. It just didn't seem like a season finale. It seemed like a series finale.
I mean, also the end of season 3 could have also felt like a season or a series finale in a sense with Oliver and Felicity leaving. I mean, I think that they're right now they're doing that to be safe in case if they don't get that next season. However, I feel as though that they will come back with a season 5 and really somehow end the the series with a proper ending, I believe.
And a proper actual issues between the group, because for me personally, I just like one of the reasons I love Flash so much more is because there is stable relationships. There is like emotion driving the thing. It's not everybody just constantly fighting with each other, which really just sort of hindered the season altogether for Arrow. Because like previous seasons, there's obviously been bad relationships, but this one, excluding what's his name, his wife, Diggle and his wife, there wasn't a single stable relationship. Everybody was always fighting each other, and it was just it just got really annoying because nobody was like, there was no raw emotion there except for when Laurel died, which should have been a lot more emotional, mind you. But I feel like it just the fact that prior to that, everybody had been so just fighting with each other, and we all knew it was going to be Laurel anyways. It was basically the moment they showed the grave, and the first thing everybody was like, yeah, it's Laurel. It was clear to most people, I should say, not everybody, that it was going to be Laurel, and myself included. I knew it was going to be Laurel, and it just the whole leading up to it, everything just took away from emotion that should have been there.
All right, and then talking about Flash now. I mean, this
Ooh.
is my
Oh,
favorite TV show.
it's so good, dude.
I don't watch very much TV, but when I do, I watch The Flash. That's essentially what it is for me. Um, Even though it's only season 2, I feel as though that this show has like just taken so much hold over so many people, given them so much joy, so much happiness, and then also given them such an emotional roller coaster, especially with this season, with all the twists and turns that they've put into it. Um,
Yes. And
like
Zoom alone. Oh god, Zoom. I thought Reverse Flash was pretty insane for a season. And then Zoom came in, which in reality, for those of you who don't know, in the comics of Reverse Flash and Zoom are the exact same person. But oh god, Zoom was just so insane. Like, he was crazy. The fact he's willing to go back in time, get a younger version of himself, and kill himself in its entirety, it was just like, dude. Well,
yeah, I mean, just the fact that going through this whole season and with all the twists that happened and still having Barry up to this past episode be as sane and able to keep going. It was hard for me to watch at times, just to hold it in and keep my emotions in check while
mhm.
watching it. But just
Especially the Runaway Dinosaur episode. Just to put that out there.
that that episode, thank you God, Kevin Smith, for that. And
best directed and written episode I've probably ever seen in most
Yeah,
TV shows. That was
Zach
unbelievably amazing.
Stenson, Kevin Smith, and I think starting next season, I'm gonna try and keep up with whoever's writing and directing all these
Hmm.
episodes so we can thank them because they're gods in our eyes right now. Um, but with the fact that all these writers and the creative minds behind these shows are just so into it, and they're like, they come up with an idea, and they're like, "Hey, let's do this." Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, we shouldn't save that for season 3 or season 4. We will put it in now, and it's giving the fans so much, and it gives us so much more to be thankful for with dealing with so many different more villains than especially with Arrow. Arrow, you had one villain the whole season. You didn't get these kind of sub villains in a sense.
Yes, except for the one dude who went and blew up the entire base underground. But yeah,
Fair enough.
one exclusion. But yeah, for like though, while they did have one main villain throughout all of Flash, like both seasons, it was one main villain. They always brought in the little sub villains for each episode. That would be very very well done. But for those of you who don't know, in those last two episodes, I won't say the last episode, but 2 weeks ago, when everything sort of like comes to fruition and he realizes he's like, I'm so happy now, like I just went through the Speed Force is on his side, we just stopped evil Black Canary, whatever her name was, and then all that crap going on, and then he realizes he's like, I'm not safe, and then Zoom just runs in, takes his dad, and then all that crap going on. It's just such unbelievable writing and directing and all of these, from like literally from Runaway Dinosaur, which is my personal favorite. It only got better, which was the last 3 episodes anyways, but it only got better, and it just consistently just, it's been getting better this entire season. It's been raising, and the writing and the casting and everything has just been so unbelievable, and it hasn't let me down, whereas Arrow has frequently let me down. But it's just been top-notch show, and I can't praise it enough, honest to God.
All right, and then obviously today we're filming this, or recording this, I should say, Thursday, May 26th. So X-Men Apocalypse has not come out, and we have not watched the movie yet. Neither of us have. I will be going and watching it tomorrow, and Aaron will be going and watching it whenever he gets a chance to, because he's busy right now. Um, but going into the movie, I have only seen maybe 2 trailers, and it might have been the same trailer both times, only because of going and watching uh, Civil War. So, um, going into the movie, I know the premise of Apocalypse is 4 horsemen,
Mm-hmm.
but I liked that in the trailer that I did see that they didn't give everything away already.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's a couple twists that I feel as that they could have probably hidden a little bit easier in the trailers, but also it probably would have been really hard for them to do. But going in, I'm excited, but I'm also somewhat nervous about how it's going to really play out, especially after Days of Future Past.
Which I personally thought was an unbelievable movie. But
Same here.
back what you said about Apocalypse, for those of you watching who may not know comic book wise, Apocalypse is essentially the very first mutant, and every mutant from like that exists now is a descendant of his and all that jazz. So he has essentially every single power in the world. And the 4 horsemen are like the 4 most powerful mutants aside from him that he chooses to be like his partners in crime and all that jazz. But me personally, I am unbelievably excited for the movie because just the way the past X-Men movies, excluding X-Men Last Stand, but excluding that and Origins and X-Men Origins Wolverine, they have all been just superb movies. And then the casting overall has been insane, and I just have so much faith in the movie. And while Apocalypse looks weird and sort of looks like a villain for Power Rangers, he is still looks like he's being going to be portrayed really, really well. And then all the new actors that got out there, Sophie Turner, who praise the gods because Sophie exists, but Sophie Turner I think is going to be unbelievably amazing as Jean Grey. And then just overall, like, I'm just so pumped because I think the casting is well done. I think the story is going to be great. They're going to have a lot to build on for that movie. And then just everything is just, I'm so pumped, dude. Like, you have no idea. Way more than I was for Civil War. And I loved Civil War, so. Whew.
All right, so next week we will talk in a whole lot of depth about the Flash and Arrow series finales, not series, season finales, excuse me. And then we'll also get quite a bit into X-Men Apocalypse if we've both gotten a chance to see it. If not, I will give as much of a spoiler-free kind of synopsis and review that I could about it. Um, and if there's anything that you guys feel as though you guys have any thoughts, ideas, um, things that we should do differently for these podcasts, let us know. Leave a comment, uh, message us on Twitter or anything. Get in contact with us some way so we could try and get better and get this content out in a better way with better
Mhm.
quality for you guys.
And plus, if you think there's anything in this podcast itself or this episode that you think we didn't really touch on enough and that you'd really like us to go back into, or if you think there's something that we said that you don't really agree with, you just want to say things to us, call us names, I don't care. Just go ahead and comment it down in the comments below. Do whatever you want. It's pretty great. We love you all.
Thank you,
We
and
really do
we
appreciate
are
it.
the Heroic Reality, and we will see you next week.
Peace.